She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Hey, I hope you had an awesome weekend. Just because, sometimes in order to have an awesome weekend, you have to purposely make it that way. Just like today, you're going to have to purposely make today a great day, regardless of what is actually dished over to you. Listen, I'm talking to myself right now because I was gone for the whole weekend, and my husband's off on this big camping trip with two of the boys. And yeah, there was a couple of people left in our house, and oh my gosh, I walked in the house this morning and I had to do everything. I had to use every ounce of self-control. I had to use every ounce of holding back the tears because the house that I left spotless, I came home to a disaster. I don't think my house has ever looked like this, to be honest with you. And I happen to be one of those clean freaks. You know what I mean? I'm the person that gets up every morning and makes my bed, except for on Saturdays, which is my day of rest, and the bed doesn't get made. It stays all disheveled in a mess on purpose. But I can't wait for Sunday so I can change those sheets and put everything nice and perfect. Okay, shush. I know. I'm one of those weirdos, that actually hangs my towel up and the clothes go from the body to the hamper, not to the floor. Yes. All right. So you can judge me all you like, but I'm one of those that has a deep appreciation for organization and things being clean, neat, tidy, in order, trash taken out so it doesn't stink. Yeah. Well, guess what I came home to? I came home. Oh my gosh. So anyway, I'm going to have to choose to make it a great day today. I'm going to have to choose to forgive, to love. And by the way, I was going to have people over tonight. Yeah, right. Anyway, you should have seen the outside. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So some days, they could start off okay, and then, wow, a bomb drops. In this case, my house was a bomb that fell on top of me today. If there's a way to try to get underneath my skin, yeah. That was the way to get underneath my skin. Somehow the individuals that were using our house were thinking that we must have been coming home tomorrow. And in this case, we need a pressure washer. I said I was going to move on. Anyway, so everyone has strengths and weaknesses, right? All of us do. And basically what I'm revealing to you is that I have strengths and weaknesses. My strength is also my weakness. The strength of organization also is my weakness in that other people don't share that same exact organizational preference in life. They don't have that same organizational preference as a priority in their life. It's not something they naturally want to do. They naturally don't want to make their bed. They naturally don't want to keep their desk organized. They naturally want to keep their closet a pigsty. They naturally want to eat all weekend long and cook all weekend long and keep the pot with the dead food and the pot on the stove, as well as the crumbs that are all over the stove, and then the onion on the counter. Yeah, cut open, who knows how many days, and as well as all the dishes that were used throughout the weekend kind of strewn all over the kitchen. Some people are just that way. And when you've got a strength of organization or keeping things clean and other people don't have that strength, well, then that asset becomes a liability in that very moment. So why are we talking about that? Because you and I have strengths and weaknesses. And on a daily basis, either the strength or the weakness is being touched. It's being poked, if you will. And it can create a tremendous amount of stress in your life and in the lives of those who are around you. Or it can create some really good results in some cases. But we have to know how to balance our strengths and our weaknesses. And unfortunately, you've heard me talk about this before, 98% of the population who ends up dead or dead broke at the age of 65, dependent on their family, friends, and federal government for their main source of income. 98% of the population, majority of the people, and I've worked with hundreds of thousands of people from around the world, most people try to ignore their weaknesses. They don't believe in shoring some of those weaknesses up or even looking at what they they are. In fact, there is a whole nother part of the population that doesn't even think they have any. They're thoroughly aware of everybody else's weaknesses, but they absolutely are not aware of anybody else. They're not aware of their own weaknesses. They think they have none. They think that everyone else has a problem, but they themselves must be God. And there is nothing to change because God made a perfect copy of me, and therefore I have nothing to change. All you other people are jacked up, and you got some issues to work out, but I'm a finished product. That's your biggest weakness right there, thinking higher of yourself than you ought to. Heart full of pride. Heart full of pride that just wants to look at everybody else's things that they need to change and thinking that you are holier than thou and you got it all together. Well, honey, you're about to fall. That's the bottom line. So why in the world would we bring up a topic of strengths versus weaknesses? Because we want to see you succeed. You know, you listen to the show because you don't want to be a 98%er. You listen to the show because you don't want your children to be 98%ers. In fact, that's why people like Chad and Lorianne Ketcher have their children every day as part of their homework for homeschool assignment. They listen to the show. Every day we see them on Facebook saying, the Ketcher family is here. Notepads are ready. We're ready to listen to the Dani Johnson Show. And so why? Because they want to groom their children to be in that 2% who are financially independent. The difference between 98 and 2% is the way these two populations think. 2% of the population thinks very differently than 98% of the population. And 98% of the population, they don't want to look at their weaknesses. They don't want to identify them, and they certainly don't want to shore them up. They spend a lifetime covering them up, hiding them, even spray painting them. You know, it's kind of like this. You know, you have your house is a disaster because you don't appreciate your home and you don't honor your home, or you don't honor the people that are around you. You don't honor the space in which you've been given to live. And the bottom line is, if your home is a complete disaster, there's a good chance that your office space is as well. Same with your computer that might have spit on it, that might have some chocolate on it, okay, that might have who knows what else on it, spilled Coke on it, okay, which then you have to pay for it to be replaced. But when you don't appreciate your living space, right, you don't take care of that, it's a reflection also on how you work. If everything is totally in disarray inside your home, there's a good chance that everything's in disarray inside your head. It's literally a picture of what's going on inside of your head. It literally is a picture. And so let's just say that that is a weakness, and let's just say that that actually causes trouble between you and your spouse, or you and the parent you're living with. Well, this then translates, if you fast forward, it translates at work. And when we are at work and we are disheveled and we are completely out of sorts and everything is just chaotic and we're spinning all of these different kinds of plates, we obviously are not dependable. We obviously don't know where to find things, and we end up procrastinating on things, getting distracted with other things, and then what? Missing deadlines. And one deadline being missed after another is going to get you fired. It's going to get you fired. And we want to see you succeed. We want to see you rise up to the top at what you do. We want to see you be the #1 recommended person at what you do. We want to see you create your own personal economy that is rising above the U.S. economy, the U.K. economy, the Canadian economy. We want to see your economy thrive no matter what is going on around the world. And you can do this by learning the skill sets, the strategies, and the mindsets of 2% of the population. Now, obviously, I didn't grow up in that environment, right? I grew up on welfare with drug-infested parents, but there was something that they did actually teach us. My mom made sure that house was kept clean. So yes, she used drugs, and yes, she partied too much, and yes, they completely were foolishly financially, but at least every Saturday we had to scrub with toothbrushes the bathroom counters and get in the grout of the tile. And yes, every night after dinner we had to make that kitchen completely spotless, sweeping the floor, wiping down the counters, taking the Windex onto the microwave. Do you understand what I'm saying? Scrub off the food that got burnt on those little coils on the stove. We had to make sure that everything was spotless and put away and perfect before we left that kitchen at night. And so I'm grateful that although my parents made a lot of mistakes financially. They made a lot of mistakes physically, verbally abusive. However, there's one thing I got out of my childhood, and that was how to be clean. And that then again translates to other areas in my life. It really does. And so I want us today to do something very rare. We are going to look at your weaknesses. You're like, I'm changing the channel, Danny. He ain't gonna look at my weaknesses. Come on, man. Don't be a fool. We all have them. And your employer knows you have them. And that job interview you're about to go on, they're gonna ask you the question, what are your weaknesses? What are your greatest strengths? And what are your weaknesses? They're going to ask you that question. So either you're gonna be sitting there looking like a deer in headlights with some podunk farmer or podunk hunter with a big old shotgun in his hands looking at you going, boom, you're dead, baby. Not going to shoot you in the head because he wants to cut your head off and put it on a wall. Ew. Anyway, especially in Texas, it seems to be the common decor over here. You won't find a dead animal in my house. Unless, of course, that dog that my son has brought home continues to tear up my grandson's diapers. Gosh, that dog is getting me. Anyway. Back to you and your weaknesses. I'm totally exposing what my weaknesses are, but don't be afraid of your weaknesses. Be aware of them and prioritize them. There are some that are trigger points in your life that are going to cause you to get fired again. There are some that are going to cause you or your spouse to want to get a divorce. There are some that are going to cause your children to hate you. Do you understand? So it's important to really look at the weaknesses and identify what are the ones that cause the biggest stress in my life and what can I do to fix them. So if you got the courage to call me about your weaknesses today and how you want to move and improve through them so that you no longer are being set aside, passed over in fighting, call me, 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. 844-200-3264. I'm going to be taking your call. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've had to learn through the years on how to break free from weaknesses, as well as to be aware of what they are, just like I was aware of my weaknesses when I walked in the house today and saw it a complete disaster, like every room was a disaster, including outside, going, my weakness is also my strength. I like things to be neat and tidy. It would be honorable and respectful if somebody was using your house that they would leave it the way that they got it. Breathe, breathe, because I either want to cry or I want to unload on somebody. I did neither. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more, and I'm taking your call as we plow through the weaknesses and turn them into your strengths right after this. This
is the Dani Johnson Show. More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
What aren't my weaknesses, Dani? I am filled with nothing but weaknesses. I'm not good at anything. Is that really what you think? Call me 844-200-3264. This is Dani Johnson with the Dani Johnson Show. You know, talent acquisition managers from Enterprise, they have written things like all employees have flaws, but how they deal with them is actually what the employer wants to know. Are you somebody that puts yourself down and causes yourself to feel condemned, or do you defend yourself when your weakness has been exposed, or are you somebody that finds a way to fix it, to create a solution, or put yourself in a different place, or even, well, you might be in a career that's just tapping on every single one of your weaknesses. Maybe it's time to look at that and figure out, wait a minute, what are my strengths and really what should I be doing? I'm taking the calls right now. We got 5 lines that are completely lit up at the moment. 844-200-DANI. That's 3264. If you would like help really deciphering those weaknesses, how those weaknesses are hurting your finances, your marriage, your parenting, your personal relationships, even your health, and you want help to move through those, call me now, 844-200-3264. If it goes to voicemail, just leave your comment or your question right there. We promise that we'll be listening to those. So I've got Candace, who is on line 3 from Dayton, Texas. Candace, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you, Dani.
So are you one of those that believes that, you know, you have nothing but weaknesses, honey?
Yeah, that's 46 years of conditioning from my mother.
Oh, what do you mean? Your mom conditioned you for 18 years. Why in the world are you still allowing her to put you down?
Because she still lives with me.
What, Mommy? What in the world are you doing?
Well, she's sick, so I'm taking care of her.
Okay. Well, I think it's time to have a conversation with Mommy. Mom, if I'm going to be caring for you, then I'm going to ask you to please stop putting me down. I've had 46 years of this, and I would like it to stop now. And I would love to just love you, and I would love for us to have a great time while I'm caring for you, and there is something that you can do to help that get easier. Please start encouraging me instead of discouraging me. That conversation needs to happen. Now, here's another thing on that note, honey. The other thing on that note is this, is that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So as Candace thinks of herself, then so she is. So if you think you are nothing but a big pile of weaknesses, and if you believed everything your mother has told you for 46 years, and by the way, when somebody condemns another, it just shows you the condemned heart they're living in. It shows you the torment that they're living in. So girlfriend, it is time to cut the ties of what Mom has said and start believing the truth about yourself. And that isn't that you're nothing but weaknesses. The truth is you are fearfully and wonderfully made. God made you, and he said, man, I did good when I made that one. It doesn't matter if your mom can't see that. It's time to think differently about yourself. It's time to speak differently about yourself. I want you right now to write down 5 strengths that you have. Number 1 is you're caring for your mother. That's the right heart. Thank you so much for the call, Candace. I appreciate you. Thanks a ton for calling in and sharing that. You know, I used to be this way. I literally was. I was that person who believed that I could do nothing right. And that was because of what my father said. I believed him. Oh, you're so stupid. You can't do anything right. And again, I couldn't read, right? I was dyslexic. I was that kid that didn't read I didn't read a book ever until I was 21, long after high school. I was that person that felt stupid anytime a teacher would call on me. I'd start to stutter. And if a teacher called me to read something, it was a disaster, friend. It was awful. I'm sweating like crazy. I'm stuttering. My eyes are moving all over that page. I am so embarrassed to do this. I would beg the teachers not to call on me because it was such a disaster. It was awful. And I would feel like I wanted to go into the bathroom and just toss my cookies because it was such a horrific experience. And so when you live under a condemning household and you have nothing but your parents just putting you down, you begin to believe these things. But I had to come to a place of healing and restoration. I had to come to a place of, I'm not going to believe what he said anymore. I'm going to choose to believe what I want to believe about me. Because as you think about yourself, that's who you will be. How you think about yourself is who you will become. I changed the way I thought about myself, and obviously, I'm not the failure that my parents said I was, or I'm not the loser who can't do anything right that he said I was. I've done a few things right. I'm not perfect, don't get me wrong. I make lots of mistakes. However, I became a millionaire in 2 years after being homeless, a multi-millionaire today. I've helped many other people become millionaires. We feed 10,000 orphans every single month with the work that I do. We've helped hundreds of thousands of people pay off debt. I've done a couple things right. Hey, when we continue, I'm going to take your call about the weaknesses and how to shore those suckers up. This is Dani Johnson.
How can you achieve your goals and change your life for the better?
Tune in, turn it up, listen.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Now, more of the Dani Johnson Show.
This is Dani Johnson. Hey, are you hiding from your weaknesses? Come on, think about it. Are you running from them? Are you trying to make sure no one sees them? Come on, let me show you how let me show you a strategy that is going to neutralize what those weaknesses are. Because when we try to hide something, we know it's in the background and we're just waiting to get caught. Nah, you don't want to do that. That's what 98%ers do. But 2% of the population is fully aware of their weaknesses, and they come right out and they will say what they are. And they will find solutions to fix them. They don't try to hide them from people, but they say, hey, listen, I need some accountability here. This is the place where I seem to fall. Deep breath, deep breath. Do you think that we can find a way to work together so that we're not provoking each other's weaknesses, but that we find a way to work with each other's strengths? I've opened up the phone lines, 844-200-DANI. If you got the courage to talk about what your weaknesses or what you think you have none are, call me. Let's find a solution for you growing, because if you are not aware of what those weaknesses are, you're going to have a hard time getting promoted through life, as well as you're going to have a hard time with some relationships. Okay, I've got Wendy from Ottawa, Illinois, on line 3. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. So what's your weakness, love?
My insecurity.
Talk to me about that. What does that look like? What does insecurity sound like?
Oh, my gosh. You're going to get me crying already.
I'm sorry.
That I'm not good enough, that I am just never measure up to people or to their expectations.
Yep.
I've kind of been that way all my life, and I had commented on your post yesterday, and you know, I can go for a while and really just believe the truth about what God says about me, and then it just comes out of nowhere and just smacks me in the face, and I literally just feel paralyzed, and pretty much just ruins the rest of my day because I can't seem to get out of it.
Right. First of all, Wendy, I understand where you're living, because you have to know I lived there for a long, long time. A long, long time. And I had to come to a place where I had to kind of follow the fruit to the root. You said this has been this way your whole life. So the fruit in your life is that you feel like you don't measure up. The fruit in your life is that then you kind of self-sabotage yourself, right? You kind of get going, right? Believing better, and you start having a little bit of success, and then all of a sudden, here you are. You're in that place of, forget it, I can't do it, I've made a mistake. Was either one of your parents condemning at all, constantly pointing out your weaknesses?
My father was.
Okay. What were things he would say to you?
Actually, it was more in the early years. It was very positive things until my parents separated, and then he started abusing me.
Oh, baby.
And when that stopped, that's when I was called all kinds of names. I was called a slut. I was called a whore. I was, every no good thing in the book. And, I think that's just stuck with me.
Yep. Wendy, I'm so sorry. My dad said the same things to me, too. And, man, did I become what he said. I literally became what he said. And at the time when he was calling me, when he was calling me a whore, when he was calling me a slut, I was a virgin. I was a virgin who had a promise in my heart to keep my virginity until I got married. And, you know, the bottom line is that when words are seed, and when that seed is planted inside of us and we water it with belief, we water the seed with belief, then all of a sudden we begin to behave exactly like the seed that was planted. But there is a way, Wendy, there is a way to break free from those words that he spoke. I've done this in my life. I am not the person that I was 20 years ago. I'm not the person I was even 10 years ago, because I'm choosing to follow the fruit to the root. It's time to forgive your dad. It's time to release him. Your dad was hurting when they got divorced, and there's no excuse for his abuse upon you, verbal abuse or physical abuse or whatever kind of abuse he brought to you. And this is going to be a very difficult thing for you to choose. But once you choose to forgive him, for every word, and I want you to write down the words in which he said to you, the accusations he made against you. I want you to write that stuff down, and I want you one by one to forgive, as though he's sitting right there with you. I forgive you, Dad, for calling me a slut. I forgive you for making me feel like I was unworthy, that I was unwanted. I forgive you for accusing me of doing things I had never done. I forgive you for that time when I was in the bathroom getting ready for school and you backhanded me and my curling iron flew out of my hand. I forgive you. And just keep going down the list, Wendy. Have the courage to do this, that you are not going to be 55 years old or 65 years old or 85 years old, still walking in the words that your father spoke during a very painful time in his life. It's time to forgive, to release him, and to bless him, regardless if you want to or not. I had to reach on from help from above. You know, there's a scripture that I love, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through the Messiah who strengthens me. There was a time I couldn't forgive my husband, and he didn't even do anything bad to me. I just was so bitter inside because of all the bitterness I brought in from my childhood. And I came to a place where I'm not going to forgive him. What was it? Like he didn't lock the door or whatever. He wasn't making enough money. Whatever it was that I was holding against this man. And I remember just being in that place going, Lord God, I don't want to forgive him, and I don't want to forgive my dad. But through you, I choose, because you give me strength that I don't have in myself. So, Wendy, it's time to do this today. It's not time to continue to hold on to stuff from your childhood. It is time today to be released from this pain and this suffering and this self-sabotaging. So take step one and begin that immediately. Thanks for the call. I appreciate you. This is Dani Johnson, 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. You want to talk about your weakness and how to work through it so it no longer sabotages your success, sabotages your finances, your career, your relationships. Call me if you've got the courage to push through it. 844-200-3264. I've got Linda on line 2 from Oregon. Linda, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hey, Dani. I didn't know if I was going to get on today. Thank you for taking my call.
Good. So what's your take on weaknesses?
I want to just say thank you for all that you're doing for everyone, because I have worked through, over the last 5 years, everything that you're speaking on, and I've read most of everything you've written. And I just totally, completely want to just congratulate you for the wonderful job you're doing in everybody's lives. Knowing where I came from to where I'm now, and being grateful for all the forgiveness that I have given, and how it has been a waterfall effect of blessings on my life. Puts me in a position now that I deliberately choose to focus on my strengths to help me move forward and faster. We all have gifts, and I'm giving thanks for them every morning. And I just want to thank you Dani, for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Linda, here's what I want to point out on what it is that you're saying. You see, when you come from a condemned background, okay, so just like what we just heard with our precious last caller, you know, she came from a background of abuse. She came from emotional torment as a child. How crazy, confusing that had to be. As a little girl who was encouraged by her father, then they get a divorce, and now her father is beating her and verbally abusing her, emotionally abusing her. That's a condemned environment. And when we've come from a condemned environment, it's really important, and here's how I did it, is I did have to focus on my strengths. I did have to like make a list of what those were and be grateful for what, and by the way, I could barely come up with anything in my early days. In my early days, my mind just saw nothing but condemnation, that I could see nothing of talent. I could see nothing of ability. I could see nothing of hope for a better future. But there had to be just one thing at a time that I focused on. People ask me this question all the time. Dani, how in the world did you go from homeless to in 2 years making that first million? How did you do that from being so hopeless and feeling so worthless and wanting to commit suicide to then within 2 years you made your first million in business? How in the world did you do that? It was a switch in my mind. Literally it was. It was what I chose to focus on. And you see, condemnation will take you to a place of suicide, self-destruction, abusing your body. And I was abusing my body through alcohol, drugs, and illicit sex. I was abusing myself in every way, wanting to die. But what changed is I began to focus on one good thing each day that I had going for me. And it took me a long time to come up with that first good thing. And so each day I'd be then focused on that same one good thing that I had going for me. And it wasn't even a good thing that I thought was a good thing. I happened to have been living in Hawaii, and I convinced myself that, hey, lots of people like save their money for their entire lifetime to be able to come for 1 week to go on vacation in Hawaii. And I live here in paradise. That's one good thing going for me. So I did. I focused on the one good thing, and I built on those. But I also want to talk about the benefit, after you've moved past condemnation, the benefit of actually knowing what your weaknesses are. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Stay tuned for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
Did you know you can take The Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you. Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
Iron sharpens iron. So one man sharpens another. Ooh, maybe you're saying right now, like, oh man, that's how it is with one of my coworkers. My coworker is definitely my iron in my life. Listen, iron sharpens iron is awesome because we have to become sharper. We have to become better. We have to grow whether we want to or not. And if you have somebody that you're working with today that their weaknesses is just raking on your weaknesses, well, it's time to stop reacting about what your weaknesses are and find a solution for them. Yes, there is a solution. In fact, there's a way to do this. There's a way to disarm your weaknesses and disarm the weaknesses in others, and that is to bring them to light. They lose their power when they come into the light, when they come into being exposed. But see, weaknesses that are hidden have so much more power over you, and they continue to block your success. In every area. It blocks your financial success, your career success, your marriage success, and your family success, including your health success. It blocks it when the weaknesses are hidden. But when you bring the weaknesses to light, they no longer have the same power over you, and now you can actually find solutions, which is what we are doing today on the Dani Johnson Show. I'm taking your call live right now, 844-200-3264. That's Dani, 200-DANI, 844-200-3264. If it goes to voicemail, just leave us a comment or a question right there. You need help moving past your weaknesses? Give me a call. I'll share with you the same exact strategies that I've had to use for years, and that, guess what? I will continue to use for years. I still have weaknesses. In fact, I might have some new ones. Like what? My kids are growing up and leaving the house. Oh, I don't know how to handle that. We have 3 that are grown and gone, 3 that are married already, 2 that have produced other children themselves. Mommy has not done a really good job dealing with that. I mean, I haven't totally freaked out, but it's not an easy thing to do. So now there's a new weakness inside of me, and that new weakness is, ooh, am I going to trust that they're going to be okay? Am I going to have faith that everything I've been praying for their whole lives is actually going to work? As I've watched these kids leave the nest, and some of them are fumbling all over the place, and they're about to make some decisions. I'm like, no, don't do that. So, yeah, listen, all the seasons that we go through in our life is going to produce new challenges and expose new weaknesses. You can't make it a habit of running from them. You've got to expose them. You got to hit these suckers head on so that you are not going to be overcome. Okay, so we're going over here to the phones. I've got Don from Minnesota. Don, what is your weakness?
Hello. Well, probably before I start on my weakness, actually, I think my strength led to my weakness.
Yeah, it often does.
Yep. All I've done since I've been 19 and I'm 54 now is raise
You still sound like you're 19. Are you serious?
Yes. Since I've been 19, we've raised 5. I've been fortunate enough to stay home to raise my 5 kids. They range anywhere from 23 to 34.
Wow.
So definitely that's my strength. I admit I was a great mom, but now, I still try and parent, but they just don't seem to need me. So now that's led into my weakness, which I put on Facebook, was self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to college, didn't have just a high school education.
Yep.
And now my kids are gone, grown, babies, grandbabies, and I'm trying to teach. I'm very into health. I'm trying to get a business going, teaching classes on health and essential oils. And
you feel like you're fumbling.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this.
Right.
I totally understand. There's a lot of people that are in your shoes on that one. You know what I mean? Like after the kids have grown and gone, and that's the profession that you've had your whole life as an adult has been the same profession. But let's go ahead and identify actually what the strengths were with raising 5 children and having them now be on their own and having their own lives. There's actually some skill sets that you picked up through that experience that you don't even realize will help you to build a business. The difference is that you've disassociated your skill sets. And so let's go ahead and identify what those are. In fact, even when we go to this break, I want you to just quickly make a list of wow, what skill sets did I gain raising 5 children? What problems did I have to solve? What issues came up that I had to learn? What new skills did I get from toddlers to teens and now adults, right? So there's some specific communication skills that you had to learn. We're going to continue with more of the Dani Johnson Show and talking about his advice about, this next season in life, what do I do? We'll continue after this.
Stay right here for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job Domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
Giving you the playbook to design your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show. And now, here's Dani.
Life brings all kinds of curveballs, doesn't it? I know I've had a few thrown at me from time to time, especially at this most recent time of my life with 3 of the 5 children who now are adults and married, 2 left in the house that are leaving soon. I can just tell, right? Roman's going to be 17. I can't believe it. He's going to be 17 in September. And then Micah just turned 15. You know, they're huge men that are hairy. What happened to my babies? You know, I got to tell you this quick story. It's so funny. This past weekend, I was at way up in the hill country of Texas, and we were at this little cafe. Oh gosh, they have the best burgers, and for some reason, I was actually craving one. And I normally don't crave hamburgers. That's like the last food on my list of things I like to eat. But anyway, so I'm at this restaurant, and they have right by the place where you're checking out, you know, paying your bill, and they had this, you know, those, I don't know, what do you call those things? They're cards, you know, they're birthday cards or thank you cards, and it's turning on that thing. You know what it is. But anyway, so it's this little boy. Okay, check it out. Check it out. So it's a birthday card, and it says, "You having a hard time with your next birthday?" And so it's a little boy with his pants down to his ankles. His shirt is tucked underneath his chin, and he is doing his business on a tree. And it's a little guy. Might have been 3, might have been 4 years old, right? Oh my gosh, it's the cutest little thing. And I just sat there and I laughed out loud, and I went, "Meh, I really missed that stage. Oh gosh, what I would do to turn back the hands of time and see my little Micah doing this, you know, just pulling his business up against a tree." You know, anyway, but that season's over. And so new seasons in life create new challenges. And what we heard from Dawn right before we took that last break was, wow, I've raised 5 kids, and now everyone's adults. They're grown and gone. Now what do? I'm trying to start a business, but I don't have the same confidence that I had when I had the kids in home. So, Dawn, welcome back to the show. All right, so lady, come on. This is what you got to identify. What skill sets did you have and learn and develop through raising 5 children that could help you in starting your own business?
Yeah, I think the first thing you did, because I wrote it down right away, is communication. You know, the kids knew that no matter if they messed up, whatever, they knew that they could come and talk to me. Yeah. So communication, trust. I taught them, or I kind of, as they were growing up, you know, some parents think they have to be their kids' friends. Well, I wasn't their friend. I was their parent.
Yep.
And I think that helped.
Yep.
And just realizing that they're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yep.
But just that they can come back to me and talk. And so I think probably communication was a huge.
Right. And problem solving, people problem solving. And the other thing that you just addressed, you don't even realize, is you actually pulled the best out of your children based on the fact that you were not their friend, but you were their parent, right, which was, an authority figure in their life, someone that needed to be respected, someone that needed to be honored. And you carried yourself with that kind of authority. And so all of that stuff makes a great business person, Dawn.
Okay.
Those skills are highly effective in business. Super important in business. Communication above all else is what's going to build a business, because here's what I know. Businesses can be built belly to belly, as I call it. You don't have to become some savvy big marketer. You literally can build a database by literally one person at a time. Building relationship, building trust, even expressing this issue. Hey, listen, you're going to mess up from time to time. You'd make a great employer. You're going to make mistakes. Whenever we've hired somebody, this is my communication with them. You're going to make mistakes. This next 30 days is going to be very telling. This first day, you're going to be very nervous, and you're not going to understand a lot of things. You're going to feel overwhelmed. And the reality is after months of this, you're going to get better and better. And what I want you to do, if you don't understand something, come. You will not look stupid to me. You will not frustrate with me. My door is open to you. You just need to call me or sit down with me and say, can I get a little bit more clarity here on this? And by the way, if you're making a lot of mistakes, there's a great chance there's something wrong with the process, not so much something wrong with you. And so we will go ahead and address it. And the important thing is, moving forward, as we move through the years that we're going to work together, there's going to be things that come up that confuse us, mistakes we're going to make as we grow internally, as we see that we lack some skills, we're going to have to learn new skills. This is all part of it. But at the end of the day, we're going to be here for the long haul. every employer should have that same exact discussion with their employees or their distributors or their customers. You know, if you are venturing out working with a client and you are marketing something to them, you're making a promise, you say, hey, listen, I'm here for the long haul and I want to make sure you hit your goals. You hit that health goal and I'm going to be here even when you feel like quitting. Because I know I felt like quitting at things like that before. And the fact is that if I had, I wouldn't got the results that I have. And so it's important that you've got someone coming alongside you saying, hey, I'm here and we're going to push through this and we're going to cross that finish line. So you literally, Dawn, have awesome communication skills that will build you a business that is very, very successful. You'll make a great employer, a great leader. Casting vision to your children is something that you did. You had a standard of what you expected from your children. You're going to carry that same exact method and skill set and strategy into building a business, and you're going to do very, very well. And I'm proud of you by not just staying home now that the kids are gone, doing nothing but twiddling your thumbs and watching reruns on YouTube. You know what I'm saying, girlfriend? Proud of you, proud of you, proud of you, proud of you for now taking on this new season and doing something with your life. Yep. Love it. All right. Thanks so much for the call. I appreciate you. Unfortunately, some people do. They just totally choose. They just choose to just go, well, you know, there's nothing I can do. I have no skills. I didn't go to college. All I did was raise my kids. As though that wasn't something huge and didn't take a crazy amount of skill set, especially 5. Man, you got 5 kids. You got some time management skills, too. Yeah. Amy, we've got on line 3 from Missouri. Amy, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi.
Hi. So, honey, what's your weakness?
Well, I find myself having more than I can even begin to start with. I am honored that you've taken my call.
So what would you say is the biggest one you got, baby?
Sorry for trying not to choke up here. I find myself paralyzed to even know where to begin with anything.
Yep.
I find that, I mean, my marriage is very broken. I quit a boring job to try a great big venture in relationship marketing, and I've never done anything like it before, and I found out that I don't have the confidence and radiance that I see successful people have.
Okay, hold on right here. I want to stop you right here. When the marriage is really, really broken, Amy, it's very, very challenging to try something new in an area that we've never done before.
That's stupid with a big S.
Do you know what I mean? Because what's hanging over your head, right? What's hanging in your thoughts? What's heavy in your heart every day? You said, I don't have the radiance that successful people have, but you have to understand something. Successful people didn't have the radiance when they started either. Come on, think about this, honey. I was a homeless woman 23 years ago, almost 24. I was homeless. What kind of radiance did I have at 20 as a homeless woman at 21?
Probably pretty dim.
Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's just an excuse inside your head that I don't have the radiance that successful people have. It's what you see in them today after they've had to push through the rejection, how they've had to push through the opposition, how they've had to push through the broken marriage and the broken past and the feelings of I'm failing and I'm never going to make it and I can't do it. We had to push through that stuff to get to the radiance and the confidence and the faith that you see in our eyes today. But we didn't start with that. I was a homeless woman who my husband was sleeping with another woman in Japan, sleeping with a model. And he'd already cheated on me a month after we got married with his best friend's wife. And all of my money was gone. Bank account drained, $35,000 in debt, a business that was stolen from me. I mean, I did not have radiance at all. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I absolutely do. And I understand what you're saying. I'm having trouble moving it from hearing it to my heart and acting on it.
Okay, so let me tell you what I did, okay? the one thing, the thing that moved me from, the 25th of December when I wanted to kill myself to the 26th of December of starting that brand new business, there was one thing I did. And I did the same thing on the 27th and on the 28th and on the 29th and the 30th and the 31st of December. And guess what? I did the same exact thing January 1 all the way through the 30th. I'll share that thing, that one thing that I did, and it's the one thing I'm going to have you do. We'll continue with more right after this.
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
For families in Santa Pancha, Nicaragua, life is filled with fear and struggle. They don't have enough food for their kids, clean water is hard to find, and they're living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel on top of mining tunnels that could explode and sink at any moment. But a miracle is in the making, and you can be a part of transforming this village. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha to see how you can help. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org, and click on Santa Pancha.
Helping you become all you were meant to be. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Have you been in such a hopeless, helpless place in your life where your mind is just swirling with all the things you've done wrong? Your mind is swimming in every mistake, failure, all the pain of what people have said to you, how they've hurt you, how they've rejected you. I was in that place as a homeless woman. But something occurred to me. I had to focus on one thing to help me get out. Joining me right now is Amy from Missouri, who just finished sharing that her weakness is hopelessness, that she feels like everything's just swirling around in her head and she just doesn't know where to begin. So Amy, welcome back to the Dani Johnson Show. Amy, this is what I did. I had to find one good thing that was going for me. One good thing. Now, it took me quite a while, Amy, to figure that out. It might have taken hours for me to figure that out, but I kept asking myself, what is one good thing I have going for me? So, Amy, I'm asking you the question. What is one good thing you have going for you?
I guess maybe I have some stamina that I choose to live another day.
Yes. So write that one down. That is one great thing you have going for you. That's endurance. That's endurance. Stamina. Okay. What's another good thing you have going for you?
As much as I say that I have no hope, I have to say I must have some.
Because you're asking the question, right?
It's very small.
Exactly. So you still have hope. Yes, you still have hope because you're asking the question. You're reaching for help, right? That's another great thing you have going for you. Here's one you don't see. You have humility. It's a humble person and a wise person who seeks advice from another. That's wisdom. Whoa, bet you didn't know you had that one. And humility. Humility, it takes humility to ask for help. It takes wisdom to ask for help. So that's 4 things that we've come up with here in less than 30 seconds, honey. I want you to continue. Yeah, I want you to continue to make the list. Here's another one. You actually are not afraid to take a risk.
No, I just did it on nationwide radio.
Exactly.
And I do kind of have a remnant of an old sense of humor, I guess.
You're laughing. Do you understand? So look, these are strengths that you have. These are good things that are going for you. These are some character traits that are put inside of you. Here's another thing. Not only were you a risk taker with calling out on a national radio show where people actually from all over the world listen, tune in, and even watch on television, but Amy, yeah, Amy, you also took a risk in a business that you knew nothing about. You actually are attracted to succeed. And that's the sign of a 2%er. That's the sign of a 2%er. Against all odds, against other people who are telling you it's not going to work, right?
Right.
You still ventured off and said, I'm going to give it a try. Oh, girlfriend, that is what every millionaire has inside of them. Every successful business person has that same voice that says, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it my best. If those people can do it, by golly, then I can learn to do it too. There's another one.
I can't believe that.
So there's just
haven't got there yet.
I know. So there were 5 things right there, okay? We came up with 5 very quick things. So what I did when I was homeless is I focused on the first one good thing that I came up with. And you know what? It wasn't the things that I just pointed out to you that you have. You know what it was? That I lived in Hawaii. Nope. I lived in Hawaii. And this is what I said. You know what? People spend their entire life savings to come here for 1 week on vacation. And I live here. I live here. This is awesome that I live here. Even though, and again, the next thought that came to my head, Amy, was I freaking hate it here. I am not a bikini chick. I'm a cowgirl. Give me a horse. Let me run up the mountain on this and watch the sunset by myself kind of a chick. I am not the copper tone queen with a bikini getting into the ocean. I'm scared to death of the water. That's who I was back then. And so even though like that was the next thought that came to my head, I argued with myself. I said, it doesn't matter if I like Hawaii or not. What matters is that everybody else thinks this is paradise and I happen to live here. So I literally just focused one day at a time on the one good thing I had working for me, the one blessing I had in my life as I was living in paradise. Until the next day, I found another thing that I had working for me. And then I added that to the list. That little strategy helped me to build that business, focusing on what was working and feeding my strengths instead of condemning myself with my past business failure, my marriage failure, my failure with my parents, my terrible childhood. Do you understand? I refused to allow those thoughts into my head. I literally kind of created a trap door that the only thing I would allow myself to focus on is what was going right, what was good. And we all have something good to focus on in our lives. Every single one of us have something in us that is good, that is noble, that is pure, that is trustworthy, that is praiseworthy, that is worthy of putting a focus on. And if you build on those things that are going right, you're going to get more things that are going right. What you feed, Amy, will flourish. What you neglect will die. If you neglect hopelessness, hopelessness will die. But if you feed hope, you feed faith, you feed your strengths, those things are going to grow. So it's so important to identify what our weaknesses are so we can disarm those suckers with a strategy like the one I just gave you. I can't wait to hear from you, Amy girl. Girl, I'm telling you, things are about to turn around. One step at a time, one moment at a time, 1 hour at a time. Steel trap of your mind. You know you can do that. I know you can do that. I like that. Yes. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you. You really contributed to today's show. This is Dani Johnson. Wow. Listen, I've totally enjoyed working with you today. I really have. You know what? If you find that you have some weaknesses financially in business or your career or in your relationships and you want more help on this, go over to DaniJohnson.com. It's a free website. Not only that, but if this is your first time listening or watching this show, I'd love to give you our free book, First Steps to Wealth. It's the book that I wrote about being homeless and then how I dug myself out, the specific strategies that it took to build that business, to build this life, wealth, relationships, and a wealth of business and a career. Want to pay off all your debt? It shows you in 2 chapters in that book how to be able to do that. You literally are just a click away from becoming debt-free and learning strategies to grow in every area of your life with First Steps to Wealth. Go to DaniJohnson.com. You can get your free copy right now. It's called First Steps to Wealth. You can get the ebook form of it, or if you'd like a physical copy of the book, then just dial this phone number, 866-760-8255. Again, that's 866-760-8255. Request your physical copy. You pay the shipping. I'd be happy to send you the $15 book. All right, this is it for today. God bless you. We'll be talking tomorrow about another awesome and exciting topic to put you in that 2% place you want to be.
Did you hear that last segment? Do you know someone else who needs to hear it? Go to DaniJohnson.com, find today's show, and share it online. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. If you want to hear more, visit us at DaniJohnson.com.